Okay, so it's been now a week since the Roadster was presented at the Tesla Semi event, and I've been looking up quite a few videos trying to get as much information as possible. So now while I'm supercharging, I thought I'd share some information with you guys and my thoughts on the Roadster. So first of all, yeah, like I said before, I actually called it. So the semi event was only part of it. There was something else, and that was the next gen Roadster. Um, Now there are a couple of things I want to mention about. So I wrote down a couple of things here. First of all, the looks. I think the car is absolutely gorgeous. Um, so if you look from the front, it has some McLaren styling to it, maybe a little bit of Aston Martin with the windshield and the inclination there. If you go to the side, the rear three quarters are like Lamborghini style a little bit. Um, the back is definitely also McLaren styled. There's a massive diffuser at the back. I'm not sure if they're going to keep it that way. Um, because that might be a problem with the speed bumps and such. But yeah, we'll see. They have like 3 years to figure everything out to make it roadworthy. Um, so yeah, that's one of the first questions that I had is it going to have air suspension to get over the humps? Because it is a low car, um, and it also doesn't have any mirrors on the car right now. So they're trying to go with the camera again. The same with the semi truck. The big semi truck didn't have any mirrors either. It was just with rear view cameras. Um, it's still not legal, neither in the US or in Europe. So yeah, they got three years to figure that out. But I'm afraid there are going to have to be some mirrors on that car. But I like it without the mirrors. It's at first I didn't even notice it, but then yeah, of course, if you look at the details, like hey, there's something missing there, and okay, it has no mirrors, but it's going to be more aerodynamic without the mirrors anyway. Now, if we look if we look at the specs that they gave us, that's the huge part. So we got a 1.9 second 0 to 60 time. The thing is that Elon Musk also made a comment after that saying, and this is just for the base model. So immediately I was thinking, what? Okay, so there's going to be something additional. Um, they also only mentioned plat and not maximum plat. So I think they reserved that package for maximum plat. But what is that going to mean? Is that like 1.6, 1.7? Um, we'll, uh, we'll have to wait and see, I guess. But Elon already confirmed on Twitter that there is going to be an additional option package. So okay, that's impressive. Even though 1.9 to 60 is already more than impressive. I was lucky enough to actually catch a ride, and it's I drive a P100D on a daily basis. This is something else. This is a different class even of speed. It's really crazy. But yeah, they have 1,000 Founder Edition Roadsters available to purchase. But if you want to purchase one or you want to reserve one, you already have to pay $250,000 right now for a car that you might get in 2020, but knowing Tesla, it will be more like 2021, maybe even 2022. But you have to pay the full price upfront already. Uh, I know a few people at the event who actually did that, which is just crazy. I mean, it would be awesome to be able to do that and to have that kind of money. But um, on the other hand, there's only 1,000 of them, and who is going to do that? I think enough people will do that they will actually sell out those thousands. Because it's such an impressive car, it's such an impressive promise that they're making that it's hard to ignore. I mean, even at $250,000, it's going to be like at least 1/4 of the price of the competition, like a Bugatti Veyron, a Rimac Concept One, What else do you have? The Koenigsegg Agera. So all those cars, they're over 1 million, sometimes 3 million even. So that's crazy. If you want to reserve a regular Roadster, that's also possible. Then you have to do a down payment of $50,000, which is also quite a lot. So yeah, but I think they will have enough reservations to actually make it happen, because imagine that those 1,000 reservations for the Founder Edition will actually happen. Then they have 250 million in a basically interest-free loan from the buyers. So that's going to get them a lot of money. And then the ones that put $50,000 down, that's also going to be a quite substantial amount of money. Now, with the referral program, it was always mentioned that you, in the current round, if you get 5 referrals, then you can start saving for a discount. So after those 5, every referral that you have is like 2% discount towards the purchase of a Roadster. Now, this week they actually changed the text on it to say it's not for the Roadster, it's for the Founder Edition of the Roadster. So that's awesome. So with the referrals, if you have enough referrals, like Ben from Teslanomics, he already has the 50 required referrals, he's going to get a Tesla Founders Edition for free. I would be happy if I could get like a 30% discount, but that still means that I have like 10 or 11 referrals to go until the end of the year. So that's going to be difficult to attain. But hey, if any of you guys want to help me out getting a Roadster at a decent discount, feel free to use my referral code. I'll be forever grateful. But anyway, so yeah, we got the special options package. It's going to be the quickest production car ever built. So Elon Musk didn't want to say that the what the top speed exactly was, but he said over 250 miles an hour. So for me, that means either of two things. So either they haven't checked it yet, and it's just a goal that they're setting, and that's why they don't want to produce any exact number, or they already have tested it, and because he's saying it's going to be the fastest production car as well, it should top 278 miles an hour or 477 kilometers an hour. That would be crazy. I mean, there's actually nowhere in the world that you can actually do that besides maybe at Eralessin in Germany, where they have a special Volkswagen test track, but I doubt that Volkswagen will let them test that. But yeah, that would be just stupid crazy, but awesome. Also, the launch. So I did get to experience the launch. It is amazing, but it's totally different from the P100D. So with the P100D, if you launch it, you get this really how should I describe it? It's a kick in the back that you get. It's an immediate launch, and with the Roadster, it was more like a surge that he had, but the surge just kept on coming. It's not so immediate, like the first 10-20 meters you start gently pulling, but after that it starts pulling and pulling and pulling, and when you were doing like 75-ish, and it was still pulling harder and harder as we accelerated. So yeah, I do believe their claim that they're going to make that in 1.9 seconds, and that car is going to go way over 200 miles an hour if it's still pulling that hard at that speed. So yeah, that's interesting. So it's the P100D is like a roller coaster ride. The Roadster is even worse than that. It's I've not been to Ferrari World yet, where they shoot you up to, what is it again, 200 kilometers an hour in like 3 seconds or something. That's probably a little bit more intensive, but it's the most brutal launch that I've ever experienced. And they actually had a guy at the event who fainted during the launch, which makes me wonder if I mean, they were only doing the launches for people that were putting down the money. Of course, there's going to be some guys that actually pay the $5,000 that you had to pay um, just to get the test ride, and then they canceled their order the day after. But imagine putting down the money and then doing the test drive and realizing that you fainted. Would you still buy it then? I mean, it's going to be uh, pretty dangerous if you launch the car and then turns out that you faint during the launch, especially if you're behind the wheel. So yeah, that's kind of a concern that I had, or a thought that I had about that. Um, so there's no data on horsepower yet. They mention 10,000 Newton meters at the wheels. Now that number doesn't really mean that much, because you have to take into account that there's a gearbox in between, a reduction gear actually, and that loses somewhat and that converts somewhat. So, but to compare it a little bit, yesterday the Model 3 manual leaked on the internet, and that actually specified the Newton meters, the torques at the wheel. And for the Model 3, it's 3,700 Newton meters at the wheel. So the Roadster is going to have almost 3 times as much torque as a Model 3, which is no slouch, by the way. So that's going to be impressive. And it's going to be really hard to put all that torque and all that power down on the road. The guy, Emil, who was doing the test drives, he actually said that the entire launch up to 75 miles an hour is traction limited. So it's not the battery that's limiting anything. It's not the motors that are limiting anything. It's actually traction limited. So they're closing in on the laws of physics. So you can only accelerate as hard as you have grip, and this is really on the edge of still having grip. So yeah, that's interesting. So another thing is gearing. Right. So if you look at how the way cars work, right, you have different gears in ICE cars. Because you want to be in the most optimal, how should I put it, the most optimal gear to get the most optimal horsepower versus torque equation. And since with a electric car you don't have or you already have all the torque you need from 0 RPM, all the electric cars up until now, they have one gear, right? Just a reduction gear basically. But if you want to go for high speed, that motor is going to have to work so hard, is going to have to turn at incredible RPMs. I think the Model 3 stated 17,000 RPM. So imagine that it has to go twice as fast, at least. And then I mean, that's just not feasible. So either they have some second gear that they're going to put in the Roadster for the high speed runs. They might have a different kind of motor in the front for the high speeds, so that the ones in the rear, basically it's a rear wheel drive, except for when you're going for high speed, then you get the front wheel as well engaged. That might be an option. They might have some CVT, a variable transmission, like most automatic cars have nowadays, but instead of shifting it, they let it shift continuously, so really fluently. That might be an option, so we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, talking about the motors, so 3 motors on the Roadster, 2 in the back, 1 in the front, so 1 on each wheel in the back and 1 for both wheels at the front. They didn't mention anything about what kind of motors. Is it going to be 3 performance motors, 2 performance in the back, 1 Model 3 motor in the front? Is it going to be permanent magnet? Is it going to be induction motor? We don't know at this point. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they can do with all that. So yeah, the battery, that's the next part. 200 kilowatt hours. That's a lot. I mean, it's twice the amount that my P100D has. Um, but it's a smaller car. So how do they do that? Do they like stack two 100 kilowatt hour batteries on top of each other? I don't think so. But because it's a smaller car, it's a sports car, so it has to be lighter. I mean, the battery is like 700 kilograms, more or less, 700 kilograms. So that would be like 1400 kilograms, or close to, what is that, 3000 pounds, 2800, 3000 pounds, something like that, for just the battery. So yeah, so we have that. So I don't think that's going to happen. What I think is that since they also claim a 1,000 kilometer, I wish it was 1,000 mile, a 1,000 kilometer range, or a 620 mile range, that they actually found a new chemistry for the battery. Or they're hoping for a new chemistry if it doesn't exist yet. But I think they have found something that can back up their claims, and that makes it interesting that it might load faster, have a bigger C rate for the battery. It might give up its power faster. It might need less cooling, because cooling is going to be a big issue in that as well. There's a lot of power that you're going to draw from that, a lot of current that you're going to draw from that battery. So it's going to generate a lot of heat as well. How are they going to work with that? They're going to have a big air gap at the front for cooling. Do they have a better cooling system with liquid cooling? I don't know. No one knows at this point, except for a few people at Tesla, probably. The demo car, I don't think it had 200 kilowatt hours yet, but definitely the state of charge was down to 67% when I did the test drive, and it was still pulling like crazy. So either they just put in a 100 kilowatt hour battery and removed all the limits just for the testing purposes, might be. But still, at 67%, pulling that hard, that's impressive. That's impressive. And then I had a second thought about it. Like, okay, 200 kilowatt hours, you're able to drive 620 miles, 1,000 kilometers, and then you need to supercharge. If you charge 200 kilowatt hours at the supercharger, how long is that going to take? You're going to be there at least for an hour and a half, I think. So that makes the stops longer. That doesn't make it really efficient. So I think for longer trips, if you want to do road tripping with the Roadster, you'd still go within a decent range. Maybe you skip one supercharger that you wouldn't do with the P100D, but you still want to get that 2-3 hours drive and then charge up, and then another 3 hours drive and charge up, so you get fresh to your destination as well, and you stick within the advised resting and driving times. But we'll see. Maybe the Roadster will be able to charge at those mega chargers that they announced for the semi-truck. That would be awesome. And then they could either do the supercharger if they have more time, if you go for lunch, for example, or they charge at the mega charger to get like 100 kilowatts in, I don't know, half an hour, maybe less, 20 minutes, depending on what the definition is going to be, or the capacity is going to be for that mega charger. So yeah, it's going to draw a lot of current from the grid. I don't think they can do a lot on power packs. It's going to have to be a lot of power packs if they want to draw all that current at once. If you get 6 or 8 mega chargers that are all filling up the trucks, or the Roadsters. So that's it's interesting what that will bring us. Now, also I asked a couple of people about the battery. What cells are they going to use? Is this the 18650, the 2170, or something else? And when specifically asking about the cells, they were really avoiding any comments on that. So again, that makes me believe they have found something new and something improved to put in the Roadster. Or it could just be that they don't know it yet. So they're hoping for an improvement within 3 years, and then they put that in. I don't know. But for me, at the moment, I'm thinking they already have this solved, and they have a new chemistry, maybe a new battery format that allows for better cooling, but they have something that makes this possible, and they are sure about their claim to do this. Right. Now let's talk about the build. So it was confirmed to me that the Semi is running on the Model 3 platform. And with that, they mean they use the 2170 cells, they use the Model 3 motors. But the Roadster, they explicitly said that the Roadster was built on a completely new platform. So that means that there's going to be new motors, and again, potentially a new battery, or new battery type. But again, cooling is going to be important if you want to drive high speed for a long time. So we don't know what the motors are going to be. Maybe they're going to be permanent magnet. Maybe they're going to be induction motors like with the Model S and the X. We'll just have to see. There was a lot of carbon fiber. So on the dash, there was a huge slab of carbon fiber on there. I love that spaceship look. I really like that. The sills on the side, they were carbon fiber as well. And I'm pretty sure that the entire body is going to be carbon fiber. Just to keep it light and strong. And with a $250,000 car, you can afford to do that in carbon fiber. It also had 21-inch wheels. So there were Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, which were 295/30 ZR21s. So there's 21-inch wheels on them in the front. And in the back, they were 325/30/ ZR21. So both are 21-inch, but the rear tires are a lot wider than the Model S's. The Pilot Sport Cup 2 is one of the stickiest tires you can legally use on the road, but that also is going to mean that they are very expensive, and you're going to have to replace them frequently, I guess. Because they're sticky, because you're going to use all that power in the Roadster, I think it will eat the tires for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. So that's going to be an extra expense that you have to take into account when buying the Roadster. To stop all that power, it also had carbon ceramic brakes, which also leads me to a few thoughts. First of all, carbon ceramic brakes like to be warm to work well. So in electric cars, you use regen a lot. So regen brakes the car instead of using the brakes. That's why we have little brake wear, and we only have to replace them like every 200,000 kilometers or something. So that's one of the things. So either they are not going to rely on regen that much because it generates heat as well, that regen, and then that might heat the battery too much to get all the power out again. But I don't think so, because regen, although it's only like 60% efficient, it also puts energy back in the battery, allowing you to drive further with the same battery. So maybe, but I don't think so. I think they'll keep the regen as it is. A second thought I had about it is, what if Tesla would actually put a button on the dash? So you have regen, like standard and low. And what if they have an option to turn it completely off to make it a track car? So that way you would really need brakes to get that heavy weight to a stop. But it might mean that they finally will have a car that can lap the Nürburgring at a decent rate without overheating, without issues in braking or anything. or brakes fading because of all the weight on those brakes. So yeah, that was one of the thoughts that I had. So maybe they will finally have a track car that can do a decent lap of the Nürburgring, and sets a few records there as well in the process. That would be awesome. So yeah, what else did I want to say? Okay, yeah. So the cargo capacity, there's no mention of any numbers on capacity, but the thing is that Elon Musk stated that it has lots of space, right? But does it have lots of space, or just lots of space for a roadster? I got one or two videos of somebody opening the trunk, and the trunk just lifted up. Like, if this is the back of the car, it doesn't go like this, right? It just did this. So like the back window going open and closing. So it's not going to be the most practical trunk. Maybe you can get a suitcase in there, but it's going to be really tight. A couple of sports bags would be more ideal, I guess. Also, when they opened the trunk, there were no back seats. So Elon Musk stated that this car is going to be a 2+2 seater. So that means that you can put maybe some small children in the back, or people that don't have legs. But like, yeah, Aston Martin, they have 4 seaters as well, which is a 2+2 seater. Even with my height, I'm like 165 centimeters, which is like 5'6", I think, somewhere around that neighborhood. If I put a seat, okay, for me in an Aston Martin, there's no way I can get in the back as well. So it's not going to be truly practical, but maybe, yeah, for kids or some additional storage space that's going to be there. The frunk, nobody was able to open the frunk, but there's supposed to be a little frunk there as well. It's going to be tiny though, because the car is so low and that nose is so flat. So yeah, that's not going to offer a lot of space. It might be a road trip car, but only for 2 people. It's not going to be a family road trip car, definitely not. And that's one of the issues that I have with it. I would love one, but it has to be like a second car, because we won't be able to do the family vacation in a Tesla anymore, and my wife is not really interested in driving a Tesla. So yeah, if I would trade this one in for a Roadster, then we'd have to drive the ICE car to our destinations and on our road trips, and I'd rather not do that, because I love driving the Tesla just too much. But anyway, so let me see. Yeah, so it's a hatchback. No seats were visible yet. Trunk space remains to be seen, but maybe one suitcase and that's going to be it. Yeah. But anyways, I've also been playing around with configuration. So I took one of the Roadster's images on the Tesla website, and I added some things, some coloration on there, and I created a couple of different color schemes that I tried to replicate, like the midnight silver. I tried to replicate a little bit. Got a white one that didn't succeed so well, but it gives you a little bit of an impression what it does. Somebody on Facebook asked me about a yellow/orange one, so try to recreate that one. Let me know what you guys think of that. Titanium, that doesn't look too bad either. The silver is more like the car that was the show car at the event. And then there's a blue one, but I didn't take the blue from Tesla. I took the blue that is the cobalt blue from Aston Martin, because I saw a couple of Astons in that blue and I really, really, really like that color. So I took that blue on the Roadster, and that looks amazing as well. But if I would have to choose a color, I'd go for the signature red, the color in which the car was presented. I've always liked the signature red. Don't really like the multi-coat red that they have right now. But the signature red, yeah, but that's only going to be for the Founder Edition, so I either have to put down $250,000 or I have to get a lot of referrals to be able to buy it via the referral program and get it into the signature red color, which would be awesome. So yeah, so these are my thoughts on the Roadster. Love the car, love the design, would love to own one, but would also still love to be able to take my P100D on the road trips as well. So we'll have to see if we can manage that ever to make that happen. But yeah, I mean, we'll see. We'll see. So yeah, let me know what you think, guys, about the Roadster. And thanks for watching again, and see you guys next time. Bye bye.